as promised, joining me now to talk a little KCBS Board of Directors nominee running is none other than Jeff Stith. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show tonight. How are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thank you very much for having me on tonight.
Certainly my pleasure to have you, and I appreciate you taking the time out to do it, Jeff. So within these next 10 minutes, let's try and cover as much as we possibly can for the people that have tuned in to see if they want to give you their vote or not. Jeff, first of all, before we actually get into the issues and all that stuff, how long have you been competing, and how long have you been a member of the Kansas City Barbecue Society?
Well, my wife and I started Big Creek Barbecue in 2005. 2010 will be our 6th year of competing. We average we've done anywhere from 7 up to 15 contests a year. I joined KCBS actually before we started competing. I guess I just thought you had to join to compete, and so that's what I did. I've been a member since 2005 as well.
Now, it's certainly no surprise that if everything was, I guess, in your mind, peachy or running just as you would like it, this wouldn't have even crossed your mind to actually run. Have you made a run for the BOD in years past?
No, I have not. This will be my first time doing so.
Okay, so there's probably 5 or 6 of you guys that are actually doing it for the first time. One of the big questions would be, you're seeing some things that obviously you might differ in opinion with. Give us some of the big platform issues, some of the big things that you see that you would either like to tweak and make more effective, more efficient, or things you might like to see overhauled in a bigger scope.
Well, I think, first of all, it's not so much an issue, Greg, as it is just a general feeling among cooks that cooks are underrepresented on the board of directors. I feel like my fellow cooks out there need to have their voices heard and somebody to represent them on the board. And my plan, if elected, would be to represent and be a voice for all cooks, regardless of where you are in the country. I'm from right here in the Midwest, but I represent all members equally, regardless of where they are in the country. One of the complaints that I've heard recently is the micromanaging. We need to let the office do what they're hired to do. They're good at what they do, and we need to let them do that and let the board focus on viewing the bigger picture. Specifically how to lead KCBS in the future, and we've got a lot of growth going on right now, and there's some important decisions that need to be made, and we need to focus more on the big picture. Some other things possibly, I'd like to see more benefits for members, all members, cooks, judges, organizers. Cooks need more than a hotel discount. We can get those anywhere. Organizers should see more than an invoice from KCBS. I'd like to brainstorm with members and collect ideas to help make membership more desirable. I don't see as much transparency and openness as what I, as a member, like to see. There's a perception by members that KCBS operates behind some sort of a shroud of secrecy, so to speak. I think the board needs to be more open and visible and share with members. They changed it last year to allow up to 25 members out of 11,000 access to call into a board meeting. I just don't think that's good enough. And if I am elected, I want to be visible, vocal as I am now, and I plan to maintain a website. I believe I'm the only person running right now that has a website. I plan to maintain a website to communicate with members and collect ideas and explain my votes and so forth. So those are just some of the ideas I'd like to see.
We're talking with Jeff Stith. He is the Pitmaster of Big Creek Barbecue. And the website he just mentioned, and I have reviewed it thoroughly, and as you said, you're the only one doing it. It's very professionally done, so if you don't hear anything that you were looking for specifically, the website would cover it, and that's votejeffkcbs.com. That's votejeffkcbs.com. Jeff, some of the other things that we have been hearing about here, either on the forums or with other interviews I've done, is this whole thing with that parsley ban and perhaps and the garnish rules and the parting of the pork. Being a cook yourself, where do you kind of come out on these issues, and how would you have potentially done things differently, or what would you have liked to have seen done differently?
I think on the parsley ban specific, from the way I understand it, the actual warning came out a week before, so it probably should have been done a week before. I understand that all the parsley that was painted was actually collected and secured before the ban actually came about. I would have liked to see a little bit more warning on that, but that kind of goes along with some of the rules. That and the pork goes along with some of the rule changes in mid-season, which is another issue. I think rule changes should all be considered in the off-season, started the first of each year, and not be considered during the season.
Well, hypothetically speaking, let's say you get elected to the board and all the other incumbents get reelected, but you're kind of the new blood in. Do you feel that potentially you're going to be up against it per se because it's still more or less the same old that is in there, and that your quest might be overheard by deaf ears?
Well, that's probably been one of the biggest or most common questions asked of me, and it may be. change takes time. I know that. But I think I'm a voice of reason. I'm a president of the local park board where I live, and we've had very few, if any, dissenting opinions or dissenting votes. I'm always able to work together with everybody to try to accomplish things for the community, and I'd like to bring that to the board. It's just common sense, and maybe just, if nothing else, be a reminder, hey, you know what, guys, we need to look at the bigger picture here. We're micromanaging. Let's take a look at the bigger picture and what we can do to help improve KCBS for the future, and not be looking back so much.
We're talking with Jeff Stith. He is running for Kansas City Barbecue Society's board of directors. His website is votejeffkcbs.com. One of the other things I wanted to hit on with you, Jeff, is something that kind of recurs, is this CBJ training or offering some type of refresher course. Is that something that you agree with or something that you would try to implement if you were elected?
Absolutely. I know that there's basically what we kind of refer to as several generations of CBJs out there. You have CBJs that were trained years ago, have CBJs that were trained just early as just a couple months ago. So, rules have changed. Yeah, we've got the CD that they listen to at every contest, but I think it's important that we take some time with everyone and not just make them listen to a CD where the rules have changed. Make sure that they're thoroughly familiar with everything, answer questions that they've got, and just have some sort of a continuing education program for the CBJs. Make sure that judging remains consistent.
All right, here in just the last couple of seconds, is there anything else that you wanted to mention on getting some other items out there that people want to take into consideration before they cast their vote?
I think probably the biggest thing is I don't have a personal agenda. I've been in public service long enough to realize that, the really good leaders represent their constituency and not themselves. I might not always fully agree with what a majority of the members are telling me, but if I was elected to represent them, their ideas are what I'll represent. That's the way I feel about public service, and, this is public service. So that's what I'm going on.
He is Jeff Stith. He is the Pitmaster for Big Creek Barbecue, making a run for Kansas City Barbecue Society's board of directors. You can check him out on his website dedicated to that quest, votejeffkcbs.com. Jeff, appreciate you coming on tonight, and good luck.
Greg, thank you very much.
All right, take care. There he is, Jeff Stith, Big Creek Barbecue, votejeffkcbs.com. He goes through in detail. He's got photographs, philosophies. You can meet Jeff. You can contact him. He's got endorsements as well. Very well put together. So, again, I appreciate Jeff for coming on, talking about that. But coming up next, we have Ed Thomas from TeamGrill.com. Stay tuned for that. It's Rempe and you right here on the Barbecue Central Show.